There comes a moment in every stroke when it's time to stop pulling. That moment when your oar wants to come out of the water. That's the release. Let it go. After exerting all that effort to propel the boat forward, you arrive at the end of the stroke. Nothing is left. Depleted of oxygen, out of water, you need time to breathe. Your oar needs to find new water. The stroke is over, but not the practice or the race. Many more will follow, more chances to perfect your technique, concentrate on power, improve your timing, and meet the struggle and joy that constitute every pull of the oar. Without this finish, there are no more beginnings. Progress is impossible until you know when to yield. Loosen your grip. Free the oar to exit the water. Breathe. Move on. My Olympic medal, elusive for eons, was mine to savor permanently. My decade-long journey to Lake Casitas had presented so much to confront and conquer. Surely I was well armed for life beyond the water. After all, I was resilient, persistent, never say die tough. I had pushed myself to tackle challenges most wouldn't contemplate, much less attempt. Surely I had learned all the lessons needed for a happily ever after life. But I had never allowed myself to ponder what constituted happy. Doesn't success? Satisfying your family? I never dreamed the road ahead could offer obstacles steep enough to challenge an Olympian. I'd been away from my job for over 3 months. My company had retained me on the payroll for the entire duration of my leave. I had to get back to work. I skipped the Olympic medalists' tour around the country and trip to the White House, eschewing for the second time an opportunity to meet a U.S. president and accept his congratulations. I went home. Of course, I couldn't stop my affair with rowing dead in the water. I raced in the head of the Charles again and won the women's single for the 3rd year in a row. But other than that fling, I tried to focus on real life. My job, my fiancé, and my upcoming November wedding, and to shove away nascent dreams of the 1988 games. But concentrating on the near future was tough. Another secret gnawed at me. I wasn't sure I wanted to marry Josh anymore. Gentle, unassuming, a genuinely good guy, I knew all that. But I also knew that he was no match for me. While I set my sights on reaching the stars, he kept his feet solidly planted on the ground. He happily cheered me on from the sidelines, safely sequestered from the competitive fray. Maybe I had enough fire in my belly for 2, but could I thrive with a partner whose approach to life ran completely counter to mine? And, of course, I wouldn't allow myself to contemplate the most obvious mismatch, the one I hid from the world. I secretly longed for Josh to break up with me. I knew I'd survive, but I couldn't bring myself to break up with him. I couldn't bear to hurt him that way. Crushing Strayer was bad enough. Over a year after our breakup, I couldn't look her in the eye anymore. I had devastated her as my father did my mother. I couldn't risk doing that to Josh, too, and shouldering the blame for having derailed one more person's life. And I couldn't afford to blow my cover. So instead, I married the wrong person. I ignored my internal warning and catered to the preferences of the outside world. I submerged my private self to keep my public self above reproach. I fell back on habits learned in high school, when my father coached me in the first months after I moved in with him. Pretend you don't have asthma and breathe normally. Act like everything is fine. Swallow hard. I didn't think about the consequences I was unleashing on Josh. I didn't know about pay now versus pay later with interest. That the price for lying would mount with every passing day. We would both pay for my deception. The truth would out. But I didn't know that at the time. We married. We moved to Seattle, where Josh had lived before, and I was glad to go, hopeful that if I left the Type A East Coast, I would leave the Type A never-satisfied part of my personality behind, too.